You know, if there's one thing about Umatala Bruce, I know he knows football. He knows results. And more importantly, he knows these teams. Just when you're expecting Mahopa, and you're expecting a double pivot, and you're expecting boring football, and you're expecting what Bafana has been doing, he comes in and he goes, no, guys, I can also give you Mfulke. I can also give you Foster, Mokwena, Pesitao. I can also give you an attack-minded team. And what makes this great is not just the adaptability of Hugo Bruce, it's also the fact that you can tell that he looked at this Lesotho team. Now, if you had watched Lesotho in the games before, like if you had watched them versus Nigeria, or if you'd watched them versus Angola, you'd know that Lesotho man love to play a low block. They love to come out and sort of frustrate you. But I don't know how he knew that Lesotho was going to come out and be open and expansive. There were going to be gaps in the back. There were going to be openings. That they were going to play this game straight up instead of trying to hide behind a low block. And it's almost like him and the analysts who deserve credit too came in and said, okay, we're going to orientate this team towards that. So that is what is so interesting about Hugo Bruce. And I think this is the reason why we are sitting on top of the table for the World Cup qualifiers, why we finished third at AFCON, why why we've qualified for the next AFCON. He's given us so much. And I think I wanted to start off by giving him his flowers, because we often complain. We've complained about Cele, we've complained about Mahupa, we've complained about Nico Mobi, we've complained and complained and complained, and yet this man has come back and given us results after results after results. Now, let's get into the actual game. Plenty of chances in the first half. I'm going to start there. There were plenty of chances where Mfulke got himself into some goal-scoring opportunities and maybe just didn't have the finish. There was places where other players had gotten themselves into some really great places but couldn't finish. But overall, I don't think that that front 3-4 was clicking. Percy Tau is almost using his Grootman-ness to move players around, and I think that added to the confusion as to where to position. And you saw in the second half, once they'd figured all of that out, he looked a lot better, taking up his normal position. But for the most part, I think Upesi was messing with Mfukeng's positioning, was messing with Lyle Foster a little bit. Lyle Foster, I don't believe Bafana plays Lyle Foster football. I think what we asked him to be today was a lot more Mahupa-like than to be a striker. And I don't know if he's compatible with Abo Pesi, Nabo Mokwena, Nabo Mfukeng. The reason why Mahupa works with Bafana is that he's not a scoring striker. He's a set-up striker. And there were plenty of moments where Lyle Foster showed that maybe he could play that football, but you can see a little bit that he's craving some of the finishing of chances. And you could tell that, man, they're not quite in sync up top, because he's playing with three players that, unfortunately for him, are score-first players. Mfukeng is a chance creator and taker. He's not a setup player. He's not a Salesh, sales. Upesi Tau, we all know Pesi, when he passes you, it's because he wants a 1-2 so that he can take the chance. Mokwena was a little bit missing in terms of his role on the right-hand side. And I think it's because we were sort of asking Mokwena to be a running wing, we play the ball in behind, then he chases it, instead of playing to his strength. And the strength of Mokwena is direct. He gets the ball, he looks at the defenders. And that we saw in the goal that he scored, the assist that he gave to Mfukeng. That was all him. Trap the ball, take on the defenders, almost bully a space open, and then play the ball out. Mfukeng, most of the goals that he scores for Pirates are those type of goals where something has happened in the middle, Foster has dragged the defense, he's 1v1. He scored a similar goal where Mabasa had done a run across and Tito played the ball to him. So I think that's the front line. It's exciting on paper. We saw them, but then we weren't quite sure. It didn't quite click the way that it was meant to click. Okay, so I know I stopped the video a lot, and a lot of you are wondering, why are you asking for money? So I wanted to show you. I asked for money because I want to do more of this. Huh? But the truth of the matter is that it took over an hour in order just to render that shot. And it takes even longer when I'm doing my normal content because, guys, here's the unsung hero of the channel. And unfortunately, Shem, wazama, but the screen is broken. I have to use a second screen and the performance is not up to it. So I'd really love to upgrade things like that. And when you look over here, this is what the setup looks like. Rehenga di patlo and rehenga di green screen, which is a reality of being a South African content creator. Also, this is what people think is my studio. It's actually my house. So if you still don't know that I'm doing all of this from my home, then I don't know. But that is essentially what I want to do. More of these cool things. But I need you guys to please help me out by donating 50 Rand or more into this account. You know, we're fighting for multi-choice. And for multi-choice, but there is subscription models all over the place. And I'd love to give the biggest quality while also being able to pay my rent and do things like that. That is where your money is going. And I promise to give you only the best content that I can if you do throw something in. So I just wanted to show you guys what I want to do with your money. I want to take this South African football and fulfill my dream of taking it into the future. But thank you guys so much. Remember, this is the bank account that you deposit into. Get back into the video. When we move into the midfield, for some reason this time we lack the balance. So like I said earlier, Hugo Bruce likes to play a double pivot of players that don't necessarily progress the ball. If you think of Mokwena and Yaya Stole in the Bafana setup, they'd much rather play a back pass that sets up the wide run or the route one ball that Mahupa wins the first ball. But I think this game, Hugo Bruce maybe understood that, okay, Lesotho won't be that much of an attacking threat. So maybe we can push Jayden Adams up a little bit and maybe play sort of a two-man midfield because Mfukeng was meant to be playing there is an attacking player. So it was sort of a two-man midfield. But what we saw is that when Jayden doesn't have a partner in the middle, like he does with Allende in the other games, when Jayden Adams doesn't have that midfield partner, he goes missing. And I think for much of this game, Jayden was just roaming around, not being effective in that midfield. But thankfully for him, he scored. Thankfully to Mokwena, actually, before I move past it, Mokwena, who wasn't having a good game, to stand up and be the driving force for the first goal was great. I think Utebza defensively, I don't know if it was because of the opposition who were playing, but there was a funny thing happening when Lesotho did get forward, that there was a space in front of the defense that is usually closed by Obas, which is maybe why Obas came in the second half, but there was a space in front of the defense where what Lesotho was doing was they could play a long ball in, a high ball in, and they would always win the second ball in those spaces. And for a good 6 to 7 minutes, Lesotho looked so dangerous. And it looked like they could get something from the game if they had better quality, which is worrying if we're going to play the better teams. They're going to take advantage of those spaces. Now, again, I think it's because of the opposition we're playing that was happening. But yeah, that didn't sit well with me. In terms of the defense, obviously, Usbisi Nongeza aren't the most comfortable players in possession. But I think that's a little bit overrated when it comes to Bafana because Bafana doesn't necessarily build from the back. They may circulate it a little bit, but they're circulating it in order to free up the wings or to eventually go down the wings or play that long ball in so that Mahupa can win that first ball. So I'm not going to be too critical of them in that regard. Lesotho played a brave game. Like I said, they tried to play it man up. Oftentimes, their rest defense had 3 players facing Bafana's 4, 5, 6 players that were coming into attack. They were very much into Tibang mode, where it was last-minute tackles. The keeper was incredible. I'm going to give him credit. The keeper was incredible. But you can only play Tibang for so long before it starts counting. And what tends to happen is, if you play a straight-up game versus a team that's better than you, it just becomes a countdown. We are counting down to when you guys get tired, when you guys get sloppy, and that team takes advantage. And a lot of that second half, Bafana was pressing. And if not for better decision making, if not for better finishing, the score should have been way higher. Bafana currently number 1 in our qualifying group. If they stay there, we qualify directly for the World Cup, like I said earlier, which would be incredible. 10 points, followed by Benin, who's on 8, and then Rwanda and Nigeria on 7 and 6 respectively. Nigeria doing us a little bit of a favor there with Rwanda today. So I think it was a good win. I think it was a little bit of a bipolar performance, because once we got in our game, Bafana looked great, right? Once they started pacing up, sometimes it's also a matter of pace. So Lesotho, because they weren't playing a low block, there were spaces in behind, but we were losing the ball unnecessarily in the first half and not playing the right balls in, right? So if you saw, there was parts where Percy was on the right-hand side, leaving Fukeng finally to have his side, but Percy was on the right-hand side, overlapping with Mokwena, and they were overloading on that left back. And balls were being played over and through, which I think is something we should have been doing the whole game long, because Lesotho was pretty open at the back. But it's really exciting. I think it's exciting to know that Bafana have another gear that they can go into. You know, we still have Abo Mshishi that are going to return. We still have Abo Yaya. We still have Abo Dotli that can play a different game. So I love seeing this adaptability from Bafana. I love seeing the fact that we're seeing new faces coming in. I love seeing the fact that Abo Mfukeng are being blooded properly into this team, so that when we're looking at next year at the World Cup, which I'm pretty sure we're going to qualify for, but when we're looking next year at the World Cup, we're going to see newer faces who are up for it. Jaden Adams, of course, was out of the team because of the disciplinary stuff with the pros. Nice to see him back. So this squad is shaping up to be a very, very good team. And it's very important right now, because if you look at African football, I feel like there is a change happening, a little bit of a renaissance happening, where the old superpowers, Bo Cameroon, Bo Nigeria, they're struggling a little bit. And I feel as though Bafana can be the head boys of this emerging group of countries that are sticking their heads up. And it's actually coming at the right time, because next year there's going to be 10 African countries at the World Cup. It's going up to 48, so 48 total teams. We're going to have 10. This is the best time for Bafana to qualify. And I think Hugo Bruce is doing an incredible job. Not only with this thing, but also with understanding that don't listen to us supporters, don't listen to the noise, don't listen to everything that's happening. Just build what you need to build, because you know better. And up to this point, it's hard to argue that Hugo Bruce does not know better. Great win by Bafana, as they've been doing. Great atmosphere, actually, before I go, at Polokwane. Guys, there seems to be an energy around Bafana. Old Pitso Mosimane Stadium was full. They've been having sold out stadiums. I think they're finally getting the recognition that they deserve, but I also want to give us credit, or the fans credit, for coming out and supporting this team. It's a team that has, for the past 2 years, needed this support, and they've been giving us the results. So it's great to see us coming out for them. It's great to see the atmospheres. Last time it was Free State, there was a Cape Town game. I'm loving this Bafana renaissance, and hopefully it continues. But again, great win, Bafana. I'll see you guys on the next one.